Hey, everybody. Today is May 16th, 2026, and you're listening to the While We Still Can podcast. Today is our weekly review. We've got Tony with us. Tina's here. Hey, everybody.
Hello. And we almost had a surprise guest.
We did, and we will.
We will. She promised that she will. It's just a matter of timing.
Yeah.
She has kids, but yeah, Becca Day really wants to join us. She does, and we'll get her on here one of these days. We'll have
Fangirling.
We were so close.
It's okay. We'll get there.
I noticed a new rabbit hole she's going down right now on TikTok.
With Ciprianis?
Yeah, the guy. Well,
the Binn guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And we were talking about that earlier, actually. We're in our group chat with Epstein Wiki, which even for me, I'm one of the originators of that chat, and it's
OG.
It's overwhelming. I'll not look at it for 4 hours or even an hour sometimes, and I'll come back and there's 60 missed messages. So it's almost impossible to keep up with at times.
Right.
Becca's in there. We've got some high-profile people that are involved with Courier News in there. People that are in touch with the Congressional Oversight Committee in there, and then a number of other just random people. It's a great group, but it's hard to keep up with because we're all like ADHD, so there's always a million things going on in
What's
there.
that like?
Yeah.
Squirrel. Well,
Wait,
and
what?
the thing is, there is so many. This is like the infinite puzzle with so many pieces that keep showing up every time you move something. There's a fucking puzzle piece under there. So, and yeah, they're all bad, all of them.
And with that Binn guy, she jumped down the rabbit hole with the last few days. And then this morning in our group chat, she's like, hey, Tony, you really need to kind of jump in this with me because, both of us are, kind of are good at investigating, but we're both, that's something I know we want to talk about is, kind of this teaching people how to do some of this themselves. But she kind of is good at one end of it, and then I'm kind of good at a different end of it. And, so we complement each other very well. But I was like, I don't want to, repeat any of the stuff that you've done. So she sent me a bunch of stuff. And I told her about the Ken Kurson rabbit hole that we should go down together, having to do with our good friend, AG. And
our favorite, our fave.
And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to send her some stuff. But the Binn one, she told me today, it's interesting because he is like another Zampoli, Sater, Lady Deng, who just prolifically post pictures of himself with literally everybody going back to 2010.
These guys are so vain. They can't help themselves but leave this horrible trail,
Well, I'm wondering if a lot of it is intimidation tactics.
Well, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
That's what Jeffrey did. He literally had those pictures sitting on his tables to intimidate the girls when they came in to show all the people he was connected to.
Yeah, what are you going to go to the head of the FBI? Oh, there he is. Oh, you're going to go to the president? Oh, actually, he was just here last weekend. So, good luck.
And this Binn, I went down his Facebook. I forget his first name, so if you guys can...
Let me look it up. I'm going to look it up.
But I went down his Facebook this morning real quick. And me, one of the tactics I do, and I'll recommend everybody, if you're ever looking at somebody's... go to their... So, go to their social media and don't look at what they just most recently posted. Scroll and 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 scroll back to the very beginning of their pages. And with Binn's page, did we find his first name? Jason Binn. With his page, his Facebook page was interesting because he created it on December 21st, 2010. So it's one of the original. 2009, I think, is when Facebook really took off. And but on that date, he posted literally probably 100 pictures of himself with all of these people over the years leading up to that. And then when you start to look at then from there, the more current stuff he started posting after December 21st, in 2014, he had put pictures of himself with Ghislaine, and he had pictures of himself with Biden. He had pictures of himself with Kamala as Attorney General in 2011 in California.
Yeah.
I mean, it just again shows you. And then of course there's the Trumps and there's all the other people that, pretty much any celebrity. And I think that's one of the things that we have to kind of be a little careful about when it comes to going down these rabbit holes. With a lot of these people, it's easy to see their connections, and he had a valid connection to Hollywood because of the industry magazines that he does, because he does like a Vegas local magazine, and he does that one Ocean Drive one that Melania.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's where he kind of came into the narrative.
Yeah, but so yeah, he's got all these different connections that are just kind of natural, and he because of what he does. But there's definitely something nefarious connected to him and his connections, But go ahead.
Well, I was listening to Becca's Day video earlier, and I recommend everybody go. It's only 6 minutes long, but it will give you pretty much everything you need to know about this guy, Jason Binn. But essentially, he also had, of course, been accused of sexual assault of a minor, a family member minor, and got arrested and ended up getting off on all of it because he said that his ex-wife was mad at him and made it up. But we know that, I mean, whatever. But so, he has that tendency, it sounds like. And again, Becca in her video is talking about the pictures of his daughter that he is parading around being seared in her brain. And I looked at the fucking picture, dude, and it looks like the what are the showgirls, like the little girls the pageant girls.
The pageant girls.
And she is up there like on a stage, like doing something, and he's showing her off, and it's the auction block. That's what it was. It was the Marla. I mean, I don't know if that's exactly where they were at, but that was what that picture was.
That's the vibe it gives you.
Oh my god.
Well, a couple things, with that, when I was looking down his Facebook and specifically, and also his Instagram, and I'll tell everybody, when you are doing these searches, go to their media or their tagged section of their Instagram, because, on their regular Instagram, they'll post the things they want everybody to see. On their tag section, it's like that ugly photo that your friend posted when you were out drinking that night. But
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
And you forgot to untag it.
You forgot to untag it.
Yeah.
Especially when you go back to 2014 when people weren't as, involved in social media. But that's where you really find the good shit.
Yes, absolutely. Do not go digging in mine, please. Okay, guys?
Oh,
You already did, Tony.
You were the whitest girl I ever met in my life when I found that picture.
So white. So white.
What is Becca's TikTok handle?
It is Becca Day. Or it's at BEKAHDAY. And she's got very high profile. You'll be able to find her pretty easily. But yeah, when I was looking at some of the pictures on his Facebook and on his Instagram, even with his son, there's some pictures that are just kind of just creepy-ish.
Well, knowing how these people operate and what they do to their own children after reading those files, you don't even have to go. The reason no one's freaking out is because they were doing it to their own children. Yes. Well, and another thing, oh God, what was I going to say? Oh, I do want to talk about the Ciprianis at some point being essentially Comet Ping Pong, you remember the pizza place from Pizzagate? Like that, Ciprianis, I believe, is actually what Comet Ping Pong was supposed to be.
Let's put some things in context with that is, Paulo Zampoli is not only a huge Cipriani's fan, he's like one of the closest friends to Giuseppe Cipriani, and he literally wanted to put, and you can find it yourself online, he wants to put a Cipriani's at the Kennedy Center and make it a chain worldwide. So if we put this into context of this being somewhat of a trafficking part of a thing, and now they want to put these locations nationwide as well, that just adds more to...
Well, and Jason, allegedly, when that sexual assault happened of that family member, it happened at Cipriani's. And you can go through so many famous people's social media or listen to them talk. Cipriani's is that place. Like, you go upstairs at Cipriani's, they talk about it. that's the bottom of Ciprianis, I guess, is normal, but the top, not so
Well, I
much.
think it's interesting. You never knew that in terms of the upstairs versus downstairs, because one of the things that Paulo was clear about when it comes to putting it into the Kennedy Center, he wants to put it upstairs in the Kennedy Center. So I wonder if that's like a signal to the group.
Right. Yeah.
Like some kind of a dog
Yeah.
whistle with code. Yeah.
Well, and we do
Interesting.
know that all of these creepy groups run on symbology and
Yeah.
weird
So when it comes to kind of going down these rabbit holes and stuff and looking at all of these different things, it's easy to want to, go ADHD and go in 20 different directions. And you really kind of have to learn to help your mind focus a little bit and use your AD, use your craziness to your advantage. That's what I do for sure. And, but a lot of times, when you're looking at these pages, especially on Instagram, you can see that they tagged the individuals in the pictures. And what I do, but you don't see that right away as you're scrolling through. So you have to actually tap the picture with your finger to get the tags to come up. And again, this is all very basic stuff, but just to help people understand. So when you do that, sometimes you'll be able to see who anybody tagged in a picture, and then if you want, you can actually touch that person's tag, and it'll take you straight to their thing. So that's how I'm able to kind of dive down certain holes,
Connect people.
whether it be the wives or the children that they tag, the adult and stuff that have their own accounts. But I'll do that too, and I'll jump over to those pages and I'll do the same thing, scroll back, and just see if I can come up with something that's just out there that's not really been seen the way that it should be, given the context we know now of things. So,
well, and it could be, like context is huge because, a week ago it may have meant absolutely nothing, but now in context of a different piece of information, it's
we
a
found that
connection.
puzzle piece under the lamp.
Well, I'll give you a good example of that is, again, I've talked about it before. You've got the picture of Ivanka with Wendy Deng in Croatia in August 16. Once I started learning more information, I found there was a lot of context to that. A lot of people are familiar with that picture just because it's one of the ones that everybody refers to as them being friends. But the context to that picture and the context to their Instagram sharing that they've done among each other over the years kind of paints a very clear picture of their involvement with Russia, their involvement with various other entities that really brings us to where we're at today. So that's where the context really comes. But those types of things, like the February 3rd picture of her in 2014 with Eamon Algarov versus the February 4th 2014 picture of her with Wendy Deng and Dasha Zakova tells you, and they were all in Russia, coincides with information I found in Christopher Steele's FBI interview that ties to everything, So it's a lot to process when you're going down these rabbit holes, but there's a lot of ways to go. You just have to kind of learn to focus your energies when you're doing that too. So, and the one thing Becca also had discussed recently was Kira Diktar. If you've seen that stuff, and Kira is somebody who now is becoming clear a supplier of girls and women to Epstein, and I had been contacted earlier in this week by Scott Stedman. He's a journalist, and he was writing a story about Kira, and he asked me if I knew anything about Kira, if I had done anything. I referred him to Becca's stuff, which he had already looked at. And then he asked me if Amanda knew anything. So I asked Amanda real quick. I don't speak to Amanda a lot, but she'll usually respond to me, or she'll send me something periodically every couple days. And I asked Amanda, I said, hey, do you know anything about Kira? And all Amanda said was, I know her, I don't like her. Yeah, and but the interesting about Kira, and he did not put it in the article that he subsequently posted, is there's a very high likelihood that her oldest son, who's now I think around 15 or 16, about the same age as Giovanni, is Vladimir Putin's son. And
interesting.
Yes. And one of the things that actually points to this being fact is that she actually lives in Los Angeles now with her current husband, and they have 2 children. She just had a daughter recently, I believe, or maybe another son. But the oldest son lives full time in Moscow. And nothing about him. Nobody even knew his name. I found his name as I was searching her social media. I was looking at her social media, and I found his name, and his name's Alexander. And yeah, and then she also calls him Sasha too every once in a while, which I think that's an affectionate name just in Eastern European countries.
So he must be close to being an adult, if not already.
Yeah, he's probably 15 or 16 right now. It looks like
the one that lives in Moscow.
Yeah, he was born in 2010. And there's some, when you look at her social media, she does have some pictures of him. Becca even referred to it in her TikTok posts and I think YouTube posts about the picture. She didn't show the picture of the young man, but she covered him, which is proper. But if you go to Kira's Instagram, you can find pictures of the child. And another woman that she's friends with, Aliana or something, I found also openly, well, somewhat openly, has a child with Putin as well. So it's known that...
How many baby mamas does this guy have?
Well, it's known that he has at least, I think, 3. I think 2 children from his actual marriage, and then 2 from 2 other women. One was someone that he dated for a while. Another was this Alina. I had found like a family tree thing. I got it somewhere on my phone, and then of course but there's rumors of a lot of other children, and one of those is Kira's oldest son as well.
I see. So it's all alleged, but
yeah, it's all alleged. But there's a lot of pictures that point to that being the fact. And if you look at the picture of the young child versus the picture of Putin as a child, even Becca says it's pretty clear. I mean,
kind of like a Brina Nos situation, very Brina vibes.
All you white people look the same, of course, but
I know, all look like a freaking tortilla when we get old.
Yeah,
we're pretty boring.
I'm joking.
Boring. We're so superior with our fucking... I'm sorry, I'm done. Just kidding, obviously. So, okay, I do have one question, though. Okay, so they're obviously doing, like, weird IVF baby farming things, it seems like. So, is Putin having sex with all of these girls? Or are they just, like, impregnating them, like doing an Elon situation? Like,
my impression is, I think it's more of that. I think it's more of like impregnating them. But I mean, there's rumors Putin likes little boys, sexually. I mean, those rumors have been on forever. And there's that famous picture of kissing that little boy's stomach, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Thank God I've not.
So there's a lot of rumors about that, but who knows with these people? They could be, various things.
They just like tormenting and traumatizing people. That's what.
Well, and I think the question is, I mean, if you look at Putin, if you look at Musk, if you look at Epstein, and I would even throw Trump in there. The question is, how many children do they actually have? And also how they were produced. I think, especially when you look at the Epstein stuff that we know, there's probably a lot of scientific stuff involved in the projection of
there absolutely
is. Children.
There is.
And, and there's question as to how many there are. I mean, one story that really didn't go anywhere, but it was part of the whole Stormy Daniels stuff and everything, was also the fact that Trump paid his doorman $30,000 in 2016 because his doorman had spoke up about a bastard child that Trump had with one of his maids.
Yeah,
and that just kind of disappeared over time. But, why do you pay a doorman $30,000 to shut up about a story that's not true?
Right.
Well, and I want to bring up, okay, so, I feel like we
Are no.
dog, not we, but the United States dogs on, immigrants coming here and having these anchor babies and everything. I was just reading an article about how these billionaires and shit from other countries are impregnating women in the United States, IVF, with like multiple
Mhm.
babies. And so then they have American citizenship. And so they're doing exactly what they're blaming all of these
Yeah.
immigrants on, that are coming here because they're escaping terrible circumstances that our government caused in their country. And we're shitting on them because they had a baby here, and these other people are literally making a factory out of it for citizens.
Well, I mean, it's also been reported that basically Trump properties are literal breeding grounds for that. Is for Russian women to come and have children in the United States. I mean, I'm not making any of this up. Again, anybody can type this into their webpage and find all this stuff themselves. And
Well, they're scared at what they'll find, and they'll have to admit they were wrong. So they ain't doing all that, okay?
That's hard to do.
so, I mean, and so yeah, when it comes to diving down these rabbit holes, I mean, you can leave it to us, the ones that are actually really good at it. The big thing is, one is we do have to, trust the information, verify the information. I would say AI is not the best
No, it
source.
doesn't.
I use
It's
it
not.
when I do
No.
Google search. I do click the AI mode to see what the AI in Google does say about something. But usually, then I go back and I verify the information through independent links I can find as well.
Hmm.
Whereas, Wikipedia, there's a reason. Even Allison used to give me shit about citing Wikipedia, but it's because they hate Wikipedia. Everybody on the GOP side hates Wikipedia because of the amount of information that's on there and the access people have to it. But Wikipedia is a solid source, but use it again as a source to then go and second source it yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's like it grabbed all the big pieces and
mhm.
formulated it into a story, and you gotta flesh out the story with the
And it's
details.
being, and it is very manipulable. It's easy to manipulate. I mean, I talked about Paulo Zampoli's page, which is very lacking. Obviously, he doesn't want anything on his page. Somebody takes care of that for him because if you actually put a true page of Paulo together, I mean, there's a whole lot of shit to be in on that page. So I've got PDS. I've determined Paulo.
Paulo derangement syndrome. Hey, isn't there an Italian article coming out today about Paulo Zampoli?
Probably another new one. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Usually Amanda or her husband Jao are the first to send me the Italian articles when they come out. And
Okay.
fortunately for me, I understand Spanish, written Spanish well enough that I can read Italian and Portuguese. Because a lot of times they're sending me this stuff in these different languages that haven't been translated
Yeah.
yet. That I can kind of get a good idea of what it is without having to do a lot of work. But I wouldn't be surprised. Italy. Rye specifically has been doing a lot about Ciprianis has been a huge thing in Italy. The story about Ciprianis has been a huge thing. Paolo, just being Paolo. I mean, he keeps digging his own hole. I mean,
Yeah, what did he just post the other day that you sent me? Was he doing an interview with Andrew fucking Tate?
yeah, he did an interview, and he actually deleted a couple things. It was interesting.
God.
He
What a choice that is
I mean,
under
like,
these
you're literally
circumstances.
being accused of
You're,
all these things and just having
yeah, and you
cease and
go
desist.
online with the most notorious essayer that's been arrested in multiple countries and
Well, and the interesting,
But
go ahead.
colossal piece of garbage.
And you also know. I mean, this is going to go a slight tangent, but Romania is obviously a big part of this that people haven't quite grasped yet either. I mean, Kate was obviously in Romania for a while, had all of those legal issues there. You've got the ties to Erica Kirk and Romania and all of this stuff. I literally just got, again, you guys know I get so many people contacting me. I got somebody contacting me. I have somebody that just contacted me on Threads that is a whistleblower, they say, that they're Romanian and it has to do with a company called Smithfield, which is United States based.
Meat, isn't that meat?
And they have a factory in Romania.
I don't like
Yes,
that.
I know. And they have a factory in Romania, one of the biggest ones in the world that produce. Smithfield produces, I think, 12% of the world's pork and meat. Yeah,
Pork.
pork. And he was a whistleblower about something about the abuse of the workers and stuff. I can't quite understand what he was trying to share with me, but there was all this stuff, and it went back to like 2004. I'm still trying to process the information, but it's Romania connected again, and it has to do with this U.S. company. I mean, and so there's a lot. I try to.
I'm sorry. I just think of meat
Yes.
factories and then missing people, and I
Well, and
confuse.
that's what I'm trying to get from him. There's obviously an English, there's a language barrier between us a little bit, and he had sent me stuff that from years ago too, and some articles. But basically, he was saying once he whistleblowed, the whoever was in charge of the plant in Romania resigned within a couple of days. And then when he whistleblowed some more, he says politicians resigned shortly after. I haven't had time because, me, I've got so much time on my hands with everything.
Remember the good old days when dirt would come out and people would resign?
Yes.
Miss those days.
Yeah, they're like, actually, that makes me really qualified for this job. Okay, that's what they say now. They're like, oh no, that's how I got the job.
Well,
I did
I
that.
think that's a
That's what I
point
did.
we need to make, though, is I do believe that everybody that's been appointed has been told, do whatever the hell you want and just create as big of a shit show as you want and lie about it and to everybody's.
And what they're doing, which we just found out with like Kristi Noem and fucking Sebastian Gork or whatever, they give a government fund and like literally make a fucking
Yeah, special
movie.
envoy.
They're
Yes,
like,
Christina.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, here we're gonna contract this random job here and you're gonna be the boss of
Hmm.
it, so you're still making all the money. Well, it'll just be an open flow of money from the government because you're getting the contract of this made up thing and you're just siphoning, like, that's what they're doing.
So who do we know that are special envoys? Paulo Zamponi's a special envoy. Amanda was a special envoy for a
She
while,
was
right?
a UN ambassador for the nation of Grenada, which is a whole other rabbit hole to
Granada.
go down.
Right.
Then you've got Christine Ohm's a special envoy. Immediately, as when she resigned, she was given a special
Right.
envoy position, and she still lives in that military home. You know,
I think she's about to
It's
get
just
kicked
all a
out
grift.
though.
Uh,
It's
I
such a grift.
Is she living with her big titty husband or
South
Corey?
Korea, or both. Who knows? Maybe he's grabbing all their tits.
Oh, yeah. Maybe she's into that too. She's probably into some weird shit too.
Which is fine. Just don't be a hypocrite about it,
Yeah,
right?
Jared Kushner is a special envoy also. Yesterday, I actually went and I re-looked at Project 2025, and I was looking at the executive branch section of that because I remember when I first read Project 2025, the stuff in the executive branch talking about all of the people, not only that the powers that the president has or they want the power of the president to have, as well as all of his cabinet members were almost given. I noticed it right away. We're almost given the same type of power. And I think that's why these special envoys have been created as well, because they're part of his quote unquote cabinet. And all of these people are untouchable. I mean, we see it. And even if there's accountability, they just get laundered, because that's what they do, into a newer position where there's now no one paying as close attention and they're doing crazy shit. I mean, Paulo's in London right now talking to people. I mean, he posted that picture of him in the booth, the telephone booth.
What are they doing
Yes. Well, that's
besides posting pictures? Like, what are they doing? I just like usually like my boss really wants to know what the fuck I'm doing all of the time. Like, why are they obsessed with me? What are they doing? I'd like to write like a what do you do at the end of the year where you might get a raise? What's that called at school or at work?
um,
A promotion?
self-review.
A self review. Yes.
I used to make all my managers reviews before I wrote their reviews, but I wouldn't read their reviews until I completed theirs, and then I would
Right.
compare the two.
Be like, oh wow, they think I'm a piece of
I would
shit.
I would compare the two so that I could see the disconnect between how great they thought they were versus what I observed as their boss. You
Absolutely.
know,
Okay. Funny story time. The worst review I got one time from a coworker was, now his name. He had a fanny pack on, so we called him Fanny Pack. But he literally wrote on my review, "If Tina was my nurse, I would cancel my surgery." And no supporting evidence. It was strictly personality, okay? And I'm guessing he probably found out that I called him Fanny Pack. But who writes that?
And I want
Canceled.
the world to know that if you're listening to this right now, that I only want the best people around the folks I'm taking care of, and Tina's one of those people. So,
Yeah, like if I'm
yeah,
unsafe, please give me a feedback
no.
here. Like,
I would
yeah,
I would let you
shot
take
me.
care of my kids. I
Thank
mean,
you. I would let you do
I love you,
surgery
Tina.
on my mom. So, and I like my
Oh,
mom.
I
So,
like my
you know,
mom. So
it's
speaking of grift,
important.
I there
Yes.
was something I saw. You guys probably saw this too on TikTok. Um, I have 2 points or 2 questions here. Number one is with the data centers that's being built. The data center that's proposed in Utah. That's like they're saying it's like 2,000 WalMarts in size, just ginormous. So my question for you guys is, what do you really think that's for? Because I have trouble conceptualizing the need for that much space for a data center. It seems nefarious to me. Like there must be some different purpose. And also, you think of the electricity that goes along with that, the water use that goes along with that, all the resources and everything. And more importantly, regarding grift, is there's these two ladies on TikTok. They go by elevate_Utah, elevate_Utah, and they are looking into all of this, and they found that the Utah Speaker of the House bought land next to the proposed site. And of course, he bought it when it was a reasonable price, and now it's elevated significantly because of this project. So they're good ones to follow. They're really like doing what you're saying, Tony, what you're good at, and just like following each little bit of information until they uncover what the real situation is. But okay, so let's go back to the first question. What in the hell are they doing with all this land and space? Do you think they're going to house people there somehow, or
Surveillance.
what is going on?
what I've seen people speculate online about, one is, obviously, like round the clock surveillance is what, a surveillance grid is what they're building, and we're all going to be kind of surveilled, and almost like a system like China has, which is you're scored on various things in terms of how you're contributing to society and all of this, and punished as well as whatever. But I think my personal impression is it would have to do also with crypto and mining of the crypto,
Okay.
the amount of
Okay.
resources it takes to mine that. And that's another thing that it appears that the world, the transnational organized crime world, including all these foreign nations, are moving towards a crypto-based society, trying to devalue the dollar and everything else that we're seeing happen. And so it's going to be a combination of that surveillance system along with supporting this new non-monetary system we're going to live in, of Bitcoin, crypto, all of this other stuff. Because there was an email in the Epstein files that goes back to 2011 that somebody shared in my Epstein group, that they were talking about 24 data centers in China, and in 2011. I mean, I didn't even know what a data center was in 2011, and I don't think most people even heard of them, to the extent of what we now know they are, 15 years later. So this seems to be a large part of the larger plan of things. You also have to look at, you mentioned him buying that land next to the data center, at a lower price before, blah, blah, blah. And we've seen that in history as well with
over and
of,
over and
of
over with
interstate,
the
you know,
insider
the
fucking
insider
trading.
information. And
Yeah.
if you know an interstate's going to go through a certain place, you buy that land. And
Right.
back in whenever all that was happening,
Or sell it.
yeah, or
Yeah.
sell it. And I always, when you mentioned that, I also thought about Kanye West. And you remember when he bought like 4,500 acres up in Montana or Wyoming, and that was like right next to like the same amount of land that was a military compound or something.
Okay.
So there's something going on with all of that. And when they're talking,
Well, and you talk about military
mhm.
compounds. Fucking data centers are fucking military targets. So I know that we're not allowed to build military bases close to civilian life because of that fucking reason. And now they're putting the data centers in your back fucking yard. And so if the data centers are what are, controlling the drones and the weaponry that we're using to bomb schools over in Iran and shit, like that makes a data center a fucking target, okay? And if they are sprinkled all around civilian areas, how is that even allowed for my health, safety, pursuit of happiness that apparently I don't have
Well,
anymore?
the point to that too is you see what's happening in these data center areas. They've got these hums that are nonstop, that are people are hearing. They're getting like soot, in their water. I mean,
It's hot.
everything.
It's producing
And it's
heat.
producing a 16, I think they said a 16-degree increase in ground temperature wherever these data centers are for a certain
Wow, that's
circumference
significant.
data center as well. And and I don't know if you've seen this. I don't want to go off on like my ADHD head into a million tangents, but we're supposed to have a super El Nino this year. I don't know if you saw me post about that. But there's a lot of talk about a
Yeah.
super El Nino this year, which means we're going to have even more extreme weather. And we've already heard the last several years of all these new names of derechos and snow squalls and all these other things that have happened. Now we've got a super El Nino on the way that they're admitting.
Polar vortex.
Well, and on that note, I know people that they had like a ski vacation scheduled, but they canceled it because there is no freaking snow.
Hmm.
I read an article the other day about like Lake Mead, outside of Las Vegas, and how it's at just absolute all-time lows to the point that the Hoover Dam may not be functional soon because, it's the
There's
level
no
is so
water.
close to the
Yeah,
turbines.
melting. Well, they're not. The water from the
Yeah,
mountains
there's
isn't
no
melting
incoming
because
water.
there's no
It's like
snow.
literally they said 0% of what was anticipated.
Well,
It's
it
just
kind of seems
amazing.
like I don't know if anybody read about Iran, how after they blew up those radar things that we had placed over there, they actually got rain for like the first time in how long? So maybe they're doing that shit to us, and I'm not going to say we don't deserve it. So
That sounds so crazy. That sounds tinfoil hat,
It is,
but
I
I mean, they've all but admitted to doing what everybody calls chemtrails now. I mean, it's an open
yeah.
weather
weather
modification.
modification.
Well, there's a spy museum in Washington D.C. I went there last time I was there just by myself. It was great. I just
No, that's
wandered around,
awesome.
and that's the
Hell
best
yeah.
way to go to a museum is just by yourself, so
Absolutely.
you don't have to worry about someone else being bored or whatever. But anyway, there was a display about weather modification, and I'm like, that up. I can, and it like escapes my memory exactly where. I think it had to do, was it Vietnam? I don't know. It was an old situation. But just the fact that there it was in writing in the spy museum that was you know, an avenue
Yeah.
they went down very seriously. I thought, my God, what are they doing today then?
Well, and right now you have to look at the fact that for years and years and years in the 80s, the 90s, they talked about that 1.5-degree increase, and we've long passed that
Mm-hmm.
now. And that was the end all be all back then. We've
Yeah.
surpassed it, and we're exponentially increasing. So my impression is all the things that are going on is more a way to protect the wealthy, help them gain more control, and they're actually doing things in a way to not benefit us, and in certain ways even eliminate us. Look at the COVID.
expedite and call
Right.
off.
Yes, and and the weather, now we know the weather systems have changed tremendously. I talk about the fact that polar vortex collapsed and everything, and when you look at the world map of the current flows of things, there's no jet stream anymore like there used to be, and then we've got the super El Nino coming. It's almost a combination of 2012, the movie 2012, and The Day After Tomorrow also. Like there's all these little pieces of it that are now really actually happening. I mean, and even they
Yeah.
say the tornado alley in the United States has shifted, and it's shifted to where I live now. My entire
Right.
life
Right.
along the Mississippi.
Sorry.
So, how
No,
do we communicate when the grid goes down?
I bought uh, little handheld walkie talkies about a year ago. That just
yeah.
I was like, it's nice to have these. I don't trust these fools. At some point, something's going to happen, and they're like 35-mile range at least, so I can, you know,
Awesome.
get people around me or at least communicate with others near me. I have a key to the local grocery store.
I
Yeah.
guess,
Hey,
remember
Luke.
CB radios? They
Yeah.
probably
Yeah,
still
my
work.
grandpa was a
Yeah.
truck
We
driver. I
got some
remember CD.
ham. I have a hand crank radio too, and I have the straws. Trust me. Okay. I have a bag.
She's ready.
Um, I am, and it's funny when me and my husband first started dating. I don't know why we were talking about this, but he's like, "So, end of the world, would you want to be like a warlord's wife?" And I'm like, "No, I want to die." And now I get to like really kind of embody that and get my bug out bag ready.
Did you hear about how the billionaires were like they were curious about they were trying to figure out how like if the dollar go if the world is ending and they're having to evacuate and now they've run to their place in New Zealand or they've run to their place in Alaska, how do they keep their bodyguards and their security from turning on them, kicking them out of their bunker and living there? Like with That's a valid question. Good luck
And
with that, guys.
I need people to get fucking creative. Again, I know we come on here and I have so many people literally in my daily life that I have conversations about fucked up shit with, and they literally are like no, these manly men that are literally like, "Oh, I'm a protector." And they're like, "Oh, well, think we can do anything. I guess we just have to like be okay with it." And I'm like, they're eating the babies. And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm pro-life, so, And I'm like, I don't what, you can't do anything? How are you even okay with that answer? So these things like this, we need to literally be creative.
I've come to the conclusion personally that, and I'm not a religious man at all. I'm faithful in my own way, but not religious. And we're at a Noah's flood moment again in humanity. I mean, really, we need a reset, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
it's scary because there's so many minds that just are incurable, it
Scrambled.
seems, scrambled into and
Scrambled.
it's not their own doing. It's the engineering of society that's happened over the thousands of years that this world has been created that we're in right now.
Well, and the personal work that goes into changing that is intense and hard, and a lot of people are so traumatized by the society as it is that I don't think they have it in them to do that specific work, and then the cycle continues, like the continuum loop of I really do believe that we are on a continuum loop of reliving history over and over and over because we're not fucking learning, I
Well, and
think.
I've also come to the conclusion, I think, like what you're doing, what I try to do, I'm sure what you do too, Lisa, is, we almost have to be our own heroes in our own communities and find ways to share this information. And, you're a little more aggressive than I am, obviously, Tina, in terms of saying, openly saying stuff. But there's ways to gain people's attention.
Being a girl helps. Being a girl that is not completely ugly
Yeah, because
helps.
they'll pay attention to you. And,
It
And,
does.
and at work, I have, people have told me for years I kind of have a command presence, so people pay attention to me. And, and when I get their attention, I can share information. And I built a little community, I would say, within my work that people are now starting to pay a little more attention just because of the things
Yep.
that I've done. And I think that's what we can all do. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It has to show them we all have the power to do stuff. And we have the power to share information,
Yes.
but you have to stand up and do it. And it doesn't have to be in a negative way. It doesn't have to be an aggressive way, but we have to find the opportunities every moment we can to do so.
Be the leader you're looking
Yep.
for.
Yeah.
And it is scary, but you can do it.
I mean, if they're not coming out,
Look who's doing it right now. You can do it.
I literally work at a grocery store, people, and I'm, the most normal, average person for the most part. I have lived an extraordinary life, I'll say, but right now, very unusual, very normal. And I'm doing this because it's what's right. We have to do this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's what we're driven to do in this moment in time. This is what our mark on history will be. And everyone feels like it's not enough. But if everyone is doing their little bit, it will be. And every conversation that we have on here that someone listens to, hopefully is sparking a conversation in their home.
They say, in building confidence, you have to have success. And success breeds more success.
Build people
Yes.
up. Build
Yeah.
people up. This society, I see it in my workplace when we're training new people and stuff. The eating of the young. I am like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you do better when someone is yelling at you? Because I do not. I forget how to use my words when someone is yelling.
Sure.
I don't remember how to
Right.
do anything if someone is yelling at me. But if someone is telling me, oh my gosh, thank you so much, you did really good today, that is going to totally elevate the situation in a positive way. And that is how I just need one person to give me a thumbs up on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I'm like, fuck yeah, cool.
Positivity goes a long way. Like, not to get woo,
Not
but
toxic.
But
Not
I
toxic.
do feel like, the universe is kind of a mirror ball. And if you throw negativity at it, it's going to reflect right back to you. So I know every day it's not, kumbaya and whatever. But I think if most of the time you put out more positive vibes than you negative, you're going to be all right.
Well, it's all mindset.
And it doesn't have to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But it's all mindset. I mean, when you approach different situations, each of us can approach it very negatively. When you're out, you don't want to be in a store, you don't want to be shopping, you don't want to have to interact with people. You're just grouchy. But and I see it every day because I do it. I constantly have a smile on my face, but when I'm working, and I'm constantly trying to engage
Yeah.
people in a positive way, but I can see the change it makes. I see people walking out of the store in their with their full cart, and I say, have a wonderful night. Thank you for shopping with us. And you can see the change because somebody actually said something positive to them, and it's that simple. It really is that simple. Because you might be the only person that person engaged the entire day.
Yeah.
Simple,
Yeah.
kind gesture or kind words can go so far, so far.
It,
The golden
absolutely.
rule. The golden rule that no one else fucking read except the non-religious girl over here. So it's very weird. Very weird. Okay, well, we're coming up at about 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like hopefully we have some tools for people that want to do some of their investigation on their own. Tony talked about some things. Maybe we can come up with like a checklist of, can't find something here. Maybe we'll work on that and link that at some point that to help people.
And I want to thank people that I've had, people reach out to me and anybody that's messaged us with feedback or positivity. I just want to say thanks. We appreciate that. And if you guys have any thoughts or you want to reach us, just pop online and make a comment on one of our posts or
Any topics for
yeah.
the future that are
Yeah.
interesting you?
Absolutely.
Any strings we need to pull? Because
Yeah.
Tony is your guy.
absolutely.
One last thing. Amanda, she scrubbed her feed again on Twitter. I just noticed this morning, except the stuff that she reposted of me. So when you go to her feed on her main page, all you see is 2 posts.
Yeah.
And they're reposts of me. So I'm like, okay, I just talked to her yesterday, but I don't ask her about all that stuff. It's just, there's
Yeah.
reasons behind it.
Well, Amanda, if you're listening, girl, you stay strong. You've been through some shit,
We're so proud
man.
of you. We're so proud of you. And I hope that we can get the world to a place where you can actually relive your teenage years and early adulthood.
It's not right.
And feel safe. That's all I want, is for everyone to feel safe, because you deserve that as a human.
Word.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.